We are back with another module here in Baltimore, Maryland. Meet Unshackled joining Cannabis Legalization News.
Hey, man, it's me, Tom, from Cannabis Legalization News. You can find us on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. And today we have a great episode for Maryland entrepreneurs that have found that they've won a cannabis license. Now it's time to hire your attorney and your accountant. Very important. This is a highly regulated industry, and taxes are very real in it, because that's one of the reasons why they gave you the license. They wanted that tax money. So thank you for joining us. We have Seth and we have Chad. Seth, can you introduce yourself, please?
I can. My name's Seth Gardenswartz. I'm an attorney. I'm part of a Blackgardenlaw, which is a team of attorneys who work exclusively in the business law space. We have an extensive cannabis practice in multiple states, including Maryland.
Chad?
I'm Chad Cater. I'm the founder and president of 7 Leaf CFOs. We're solely focused in the cannabis industry, accounting and advisory services from startups to MSOs.
Fantastic. So this is targeted toward the Maryland Social Equity Cannabis Lottery that just happened, if you're viewing this in the future. Maybe they have not yet hired an attorney or a CPA. What are some questions, Seth, that you would advise new winners to ask possible lawyers when they are deciding which one is the right fit for their company?
So hiring an attorney or a CPA or any professional is really a relationship. And it's really important to understand if the attorney in this case on the other side is someone who you think is going to get your business, understand you. I think most of us want the same things when we hire a professional. We want someone who's pretty good at what they do. He's going to give me a reasonably good deal and cares about me as a client. Right? That's what I want when I hire a attorney or a CPA. But a lot of people don't have that experience because they immediately telegraph that they're going to be a crappy client, right? So which is a real thing, and I'm just saying this because you want a good attorney, you want a good CPA,
Sure.
you want a good marketing firm, you're going to hire a bunch of professionals it's really important to know what you can do yourself and what you want to outsource. And unless you're a lawyer or an accountant, you can't outsource those things. And it's a very common mistake to think you can outsource. You can do marketing yourself, even though you've never done it before. So,
right.
But I think you want to find someone who listens to you, understands who you are. And my pet peeve with any professional is if they correctly answer your wrong questions. Right? You know what I mean? Because if I ask you an accounting question, I'm going to ask a stupid question. I promise you. I've been asking a pretty stupid question, right? I don't know that much about it.
Okay.
But if you know me a little bit, you know my business, you might go, oh, so you're asking that question because you're kind of concerned about how you might, something else. Well, you don't want to do it that way.
Right.
You probably want to do it this other way. So I think that if you keep that in mind, and also I think understanding, like, it's important to know what they're going to expect of you, like what do you want out of this relationship as an attorney, right? Like I as a client, I don't want to be surprised by, I don't think it's going to be cheap, but I don't want it to be surprising, right? So those are important conversations to have. One of the things that I don't like when people don't call me because they're like, oh, I don't want to get a bill. It's like, well, look, you're probably going to get a bill if you call me, but let's talk about how you're going to get billed. And by the way, you're going to get a bill probably from another attorney because I don't do litigation. So if you don't talk to your accountants and your attorneys, you may wind up in some much deeper trouble than having to.
I tell every one of my clients it's much easier for us to do it right the first time. Get your attorneys and your accountants at the table together when you're getting these things started, so that we can do it right the first time and keep you out of a lot more trouble in the end, which ends up getting very, very expensive at that point.
But the average social equity applicant is probably intimidated by the cost of developing a relationship with a CPA or with a lawyer. Is there any sort of like offerings that you guys do? I know both you guys have experience working in the industry and with social equity, so that makes you the CPAs and the lawyers of choice. Like Tom, automatically.
Tom's taller too.
He's
He's
damn
got a lot
good.
going for him.
Yes.
Yeah. I would choose Tom.
I can get
Yeah.
things
They
off
squeeze the
top
two of
shelf.
us in
Yeah,
between.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's
Okay.
Tom's my attorney now.
Yeah.
I'm no longer taking clients.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I can squeeze
but
anybody else in.
so how do you make them feel comfortable? Do you have like a free 30-minute social equity consultation kind of thing? I mean, what is the process of developing a relationship for you? Because these people are traditionally disadvantaged.
Sure. I mean, I have very first thing that I do with my clients, even before we go into an engagement, is I sit down and have a call with them, however long it takes. I want to get to know them. I want to get to know their business. What are their goals? What's the long-term plan? Is this just something that they want to do to pass along to their family, or do they want to, sell it in a few years? Do they, how do they want to plan to do business? And that's, it's almost like a first date. You ask a lot of questions, try to get to know the person.
It's a lot like a first date.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And it's usually a little awkward on both sides too, just like a first date.
And they're lawyers and CPAs, they're businessmen, but they know that it takes a lot of dating to get to certain clients.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's a reality of the world we live in.
It is. We do 30-minute intake prospect calls for everybody.
Okay.
For well, not everybody, but
Not
for
me.
we. So honestly, when someone calls our firm, if they call the number and say, "Hey, I want to talk to an attorney," they sometimes our practice manager will have a quick call to screen them to make sure that what they're going to ask about is something that's in our field, like in our wheelhouse, and then she'll set up a free call, 30 minutes with one of us, whichever one that she thinks is appropriate based on the questions, and that call is really to. My goal with that call is to help the person on the other end of the phone feel more confident about whatever they're going to do next. And it might be with me or not with me. I might say, dude, you really need to talk to an accountant first. Or you might really need to talk to your if there's a your trust, whatever the other party might be. But that's what I really want to do. If they don't engage me at this point, that's okay. They'll go, at least that those people helped me. That comes back eventually, right?
I like to think that.
Referral business.
Yeah, right. It's a referral bit. The best, the best people hire people in professional services. People hire people that they like, and then they go look at the website to justify their feeling. It's like, I really like that she was super nice. Let me look. Oh, she went to a good school. So I think. I'm super happy, and particularly when a social equity applicant talks to us, and we're here on the ground in Maryland with an attorney here in the state. Like, this is an important part of making this program successful, of making the state successful, of building the future for the industry, for the community. Like, and it is, and because it's such a capital intensive industry, having your business plan, your financial forecast, your cap table put together when you could talk to an investor, because by the way, it's going to take a lot of money. There's no SBA lending, for you can start a brewery as a social equity applicant. There's not a special program for it, but you can get an SBA loan.
Right.
So you guys have been here. We're at the second day of Lucky Leaf. Hundreds of industry professionals. You guys know how to ask questions. You have information from years of experience in the industry. What did you learn? What are some insights that the social equity applicant who might not know about the industry should know that they might have missed at this show? And I would recommend going to this show and going to every single possible event that you possibly can. That there will be a number of them scheduled by different organizations between now and September, October. So go to all of them to learn.
Absolutely.
But give them some insights, the stuff that surprises you about Maryland, or some thoughts that are valuable.
So one of the surprises.
No, I was just going to say, I think Maryland's done a good job with the way they've set up taxation. I mean, it's going to be a great state to do business in because they're reasonably taxed. Not like some states where it's just a huge issue of overtaxation, which is killing the industry. And I think the social equity applicants here really have a greater opportunity because of taxation. It's going to be a little bit easier to do business here for sure.
Excellent. That's a good insight. Do you want to go next? You're going back and forth.
Sure. So one of the things I thought was interesting.
Get ready for another one.
interesting. One of the interesting things about the Maryland setup is there's a restriction on transfer of licenses or licensed entities for 5 years after they start doing business. And so the reason they did that, I assume, is they don't want to create a market for licenses. They don't want people to like get a license and be able to flip it and sell it immediately. So they want people to get into it who are actually going to do business. So on one hand, that's a big challenge because you can't just like win the lottery and go flip that and turn it into some cash.
Right.
You've got to actually make a business out of it. So winning the lottery means, great, you're now at the bottom of a hill with a big rock. And by the way, you're going to have to go find some people to help you push it, with dollar bills, right? And get up. But on the other hand, you've got 5 years, and no one's going to be able to there's not going to be an opportunity for someone to come in and start scooping those up for 5 years. You got 5 years to develop a brand, sales, some loyalty, some products, relationships with vendors for manufactured products or branded products. So that's I think something I didn't realize when I came in here, and something to think about in terms of
even he's learning.
There's a lot of people learn. Yeah,
Every conference.
Every day.
Every state does it different. You always have to learn something.
Every state does it
Every
different. But you just think about that time frame. If you're doing your cash flow projection, if you're talking to an investor and say, "Hey, we've got you don't want a 3-year plan. They want to see a 5-year plan because that's when other people can come into the market and start. That's when their market becomes available for those licenses potentially.
Right.
The other side of that is that everything has changed in every reg that has been put out so far. So this is all subject to change.
Right. Any second insight or?
Well, I mean, just leveraging it, build your team. You've got to have a good team behind you. I know we've mentioned it before, but get your attorney involved, get your accountant involved early. Make sure that they know what's going on because they will keep you out of trouble. They also have access to capital as well. I mean, at my firm, I know lots of folks that are out there with money for the cannabis industry.
And we've learned, and speaking of access to capital, which is very important to the legal structure, the transferability, and the ability to leverage money, and how the CPAs work. We learned in the last module that there's this big fund available for loans and grants that Maryland has created through the adult use tax. Do you guys know anything about that, or any insights on those funds and how they've worked in other states? I mean, it's a new thing, so I don't expect
really
you to
only New York has a similar style, and that's like the only state that I've seen that has set aside sizable amounts of money to literally get places open for business.
And quite frankly, I mean, these are uncharted waters of how these programs work, and so you're going to have a less educated, theoretically, social equity applicant,
less experienced,
less experience, and they're going to need a lawyer and a CPA. I mean, you have a team of individuals going with you to the state, saying, well, how does that grant work? What's this? I mean, it's obviously you're going to be stronger and better, but nobody really knows. I just thought maybe you have some insights on that. I love that program because that helps the social equity community rise up, obviously.
I feel like for the pros, like the devil is usually in the details. And I think the social equity applicant who is coming to this space with, likely less business experience, less business background, is going to say, well, I want to hire an attorney for hundreds of dollars an hour to help explain to me this program. And so there's this. I don't know anything about this program in particular. Right. So my colleague
that hasn't even been written yet.
Right. Exactly. So those things are important.
I guess I don't know.
In one of this
I'd be there.
In New Mexico, they had this program for micro businesses, and we're like, okay, so to qualify for this program, you had to be on the small end of the gross scale. And why they did it that way, I think they wanted to encourage, people with access to small amounts of capital to actually get in the business. That's great, but that program lasted about a year. They had a hard time dispersing the funds because they had a hard time getting people to qualify for the regs that they had. And when you went through all that headache, you only got enough funds to be a micro licensee. So I'm not sure. Like, would someone pay me to help them do that? I don't know. There's the juice has to be worth the squeeze, right? And so we don't know that until we see the regs. What's required of those programs.
I love metaphors, by the way. They make me dream.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I Googled one the
Dude,
other
you should
day.
not have told me that.
I was like, the juice might be the squeeze.
No,
I'm like,
by cheek and jowl, no, jowl by cheek or cheek by jowl or something. It just means two things closely together. And it's like a very old metaphor from like 600 AD. And I'm like, wow.
I want a citation.
Yeah.
you
yeah.
made me want my orange.
Well, you should want an orange.
Oh,
It's delicious.
wow.
Yeah.
That's magic
You've
right
got
there.
the orange.
Is there a
portion
fruit? Is
of
there a
today's
fruit
show.
fairy here in this booth? Is that?
No,
is
but
there-
you
yeah,
said the
yeah,
juice
yeah.
might not be worth the
Yeah,
squeeze.
yeah,
I'm going
yeah.
to find out right now. Sorry. Go ahead, Tom.
Well, what I would say is, how do they start working together? Do you have any tips or guidance for when and how collaborative the lawyer and the accountant should be?
From the very beginning. Even if you're just now applying, get those people involved now, because it will be one of the most important relationships that you have. Your legal folks and your accounting folks, without question. Started at the beginning.
Business structure. So you got this 5-year thing going on here in Maryland. So there's something that we like to call 1202 treatment, which no one's got to go look up and learn about. But the lawyers and the accountants. So if your plan is to sell your business in at least 5 years,
Right.
You should talk to your lawyer and your accountant about that, because it will drive how
Absolutely.
you structure the business, what the corporate structure, choice of entity, all
Sure.
this horribly boring sounding stuff, which is actually really important to do it right to begin with, and then how that and how the accounting team or the financial team helps assemble that, because it could make a massive difference in your exit in terms of how much money you keep after the end.
Right.
Very true.
Absolutely.
Because capital gains are a real thing when you sell your capital assets.
Absolutely.
And by the way, the juice always
Deep.
isn't worth the peel.
Yeah.
This orange is not good. Otherwise, I'd be offering it to you guys.
Did it come from the
I
vending
always like
machine?
to-
No, I don't know,
yeah,
man.
During my podcast.
So you got to be careful about that. I'm just saying, Well, he brought it. I got my orange.
I understand, but I didn't see you like going into your cheeks next to your jowls.
Yeah,
You know what
yeah.
there? Yeah, that's right.
Sorry.
That's okay. I do like the 1202 treatment. You should check that out, especially if you're a dispensary, and that gets us to the IRC 280E. Sorry about citing tax code provisions. Those are the only two I know. And so, Chad, how do you help cannabis operators insulate the risk that they have when it comes to the different tax treatment that's unique to the marijuana industry?
Right. So one of the big things that I share with all my clients from the beginning is our goal here is not to beat 280E. There are great ways to work within it. You can still make money. 280E basically says if you're in the business of trafficking Schedule 1 or Schedule 2 drugs, you cannot take any expenses to offset your revenues. So you're basically paying a gross receipts tax. So setting everything up correctly to begin with to try to work within 280E, whether you're creating your cost as you're doing a grow, working with dispensaries to figure out what square footage works best for certain things. All those things are things that your CPA and your attorney can work together to help you with. The way
And
things are
and
structured.
by the way, it means your expenses are in your inventory. Like this,
Yes.
this is if you've never worked in retail before, if you've never had a financial model in retail, bankers and accountants and lawyers, we like to say that inventory is an asset, which is technically true, but really it's not. It's an anchor. And because if you look at your inventory every day, the inventory you actually have is not what you want. You already sold that. So the stuff that's still on the shelf is the stuff that you haven't sold yet. And in that is your money to buy the stuff you want. That's normal retail. But in cannabis, in that is also your expenses, which you can't deduct until you sell it.
Right.
So this is why everybody needs, like, I can't do this math either. So this is why everybody needs a financial professional on their team to help them forecast how that cash flow is gonna look like. It's not just sales, right? It's sales of different product categories. And by the way, when I see financial models for startups, you know what? There's never any bad things in those forecasts.
Never.
Things are always going to
Never.
go amazing.
I'm going to sell 100% of my crop.
Right.
Right.
Every day.
At top market
Right.
dollar.
Right. At top.
Top
Yeah.
market value.
Yeah.
Let me get right back to social equity applicant who's looking at this and saying to themselves, I want to invest $10,000, $20,000, $30,000. They have a little bit of business experience. They're thinking to myself, I want to invest $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 into this activity to look for a social equity, to fight for a social equity license. Is that money deductible? Is that money, you see what I'm saying? Can that?
Yeah, I'm
be
looking at the CPA
against-
myself. Yeah,
So-
yeah,
So
yeah.
I
yeah.
win.
Yeah.
I should be keeping
So-
receipts just in
Yes.
case.
So I will say
Good question, right?
Oh, it's
Yeah.
great.
It's a great question.
Chad
that, and then you're going to get the
I'm,
famous.
I'm hanging on
Yeah.
Chad's every word. Yeah, yeah,
He's
yeah,
the
yeah.
detail
I'm
guy.
going to give you the
Sorry.
standard
Chad's
accounting
talking.
answer.
Oh God, yeah.
Sorry, I sometimes have a hard time shutting up. It depends.
That
That is our
but
that is our stock.
That's the legal answer. Damn it!
Right.
Right?
Well,
right?
at least we're not economists, because then on the one hand you have this, but then on the other
Right.
hand, and that's why one of our leaders once only wanted economists with one hand, so that he could just say, well, on one hand, and then on the metaphorical other hand, he's like, gosh darn it, he's dang economist.
Right.
But still, depends on what.
It depends on what kind of records you keep. I mean, we talked about that. I tell all of my clients document, and document some more, because in this industry, it's not a matter of if, but when the IRS is going to come knocking.
So
And it's
that,
just-
that brings up another really interesting reality in this industry, which is that a lot of the people who are in it and have been in it for a little while and know what they're doing maybe weren't always in it when it was totally above board.
And you really didn't want records when it was
Exactly.
not above
Exactly.
board.
Exactly.
So it's
Yeah.
not really part of the culture of the industry to
Exactly.
like have written agreements between parties, between vendors, and have all these things written down. And so now they're like, oh, well, I'm just going to bust into the legal space and start because I know how to do it. I know how to grow weed. I know how to sell it. Like suddenly
Yeah.
things don't go so smoothly. You can get audits, and your vendors expect to get paid, and
Oh,
state
absolutely.
expects taxes and stuff like that.
So, I mean, well, some people say I don't have anything against MSOs necessarily. People do business in different ways. But if an investor or grandma wants to invest $30,000 into her grandson or friend, I guess it'd be she's grandma's or grandson, to go after the lottery, is that money deductible for her?
Chad,
It depends.
Yeah,
Is it
hey,
a gift?
So
Tom's
it's-
like,
yeah.
I
ad lib
didn't.
toss to
and that-
Chad.
Tom's
Right, yeah,
over
yeah.
there
And that-
thinking to himself, I didn't know this guy could ask such good questions.
Chad's
You've been
talking.
holding out
Yeah.
on him. Right, right.
Well, it depends. No, actually, you know,
I could have said that. Yeah,
if grandma's investing in the
Send an
business. Grandma needs. It doesn't matter how much she loves grandson, but make it in a legal environment. Get your operating agreements together. Get your contractual documents together, because everything's fine in a family until there's a divorce, and then everything gets really, really messy.
Yeah, but can I go to my grandma and say, hey, you can deduct this. You invest in me. I need $20,000, $30,000 to hire a CPA, hire a lawyer, do the whole stuff, the application stuff. Can I give my grandma some tax advice and encourage her to give me the $30,000? Is there something there?
Are you a CPA?
No,
Yeah,
but
I
we
was-
have
I was-
one
I was-
here.
I was going to say I'm not giving any tax advice. I
Yeah.
won't
Put that
promise
in
you
my
that.
contract.
Right?
It
Yeah.
says-
Well,
I'm
you
not
know,
an
I'm not grandma's
You're not
accountant.
grandma's.
Right. but I would.
She has no name.
Grandma needs
Yeah.
to treat that as an investment in a business and not look for a quick deduction out of it.
And I think
Yeah.
grandson too is to think really long and hard about whether he wants to take grandma's money, right?
Exactly.
Because she's
Right.
probably giving it to him because she loves him,
Right.
Right.
not because she understands what is going on or how it's going to work or what the risk actually is. And if this
Yeah.
was an arm's length investment, by the way, there would be securities implications involved with how did like he knows grandma, so things are a little bit different. But
Sure.
there's like if you're walking around your workplace going, hey, I'm thinking about a cannabis operation. I need some money. Like that could be a big problem.
Yes.
You're trying to probably raise equity funds through some kind of exemption. You may have
Right.
just blown it with a comment you made on social media or at the water cooler in front of a few people.
I
That
love
is-
when I see that. I love like the unregistered security solicitation. It's
Yeah.
like,
on
that's
Facebook.
On Facebook.
Yeah, yeah,
I have
right.
made the decision to sell out my position in my cannabis company. I'm like, okay, I don't know who your advisors are, but I'm pretty sure that doesn't comply with Reg D.
Right.
And they're like, what's Reg D? I'm like, ask your lawyer.
It's
And
the
that's
grade you would have gotten
exactly
in
what-
securities. Yeah, you're right.
Don't go to my grandma too, because she's predatory in nature.
Well, it was a
Sounds like
gift,
she's a good
Grandma.
investor. It sounds-
was
yeah.
a
She's a
gift.
good investor.
Yeah.
That was an easy one.
Good investors are going to really want to. You want good investors. Like you don't
Right.
want people that think that you have a license to print money because you want
Right.
a social equity or any kind of license lottery. You want someone who's going to pick your financials apart. And if someone looks at your financials and go, oh, okay, thanks, that means that they don't think there's enough in them to justify the person in
Right.
front of them getting any money, right?
And-
If they open them up and they
Right.
start asking a lot of hard questions, they're interested.
And here's what I
Sure.
learned. Because at 4,000, 1,200, I did a massive round in Arizona. There's a lot of money out there. And grandmas might not always be the best.
Right.
There's investors, there's dispensaries, there's MSOs, and all that money comes with a contract. And you go to your attorneys and you say,
Yes.
what does it mean? And
Right.
then you have a choice as to whether or not you want to take it. Some is good. Grandma might be predatory. This MSO might be offering, they might have some sort of social equity program that offers incredibly low interest rates. I don't know of an MSO yet that does, but it's not a good public relations thing to do.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So they might have a fund set up. You never know. You need to use your best judgment, talk to your attorneys, talk to your CPA.
Yes.
They might give you some advice as to what's better or worse.
Can I
and
plug
then move forward.
something that's
Plug whatever
not
you
me,
want.
but like an idea here? There's licensing in this industry. When you talk about MSOs, people who are coming into a market, and they've got something which is consumer recognition of their product, and they're looking for people to operate in this state or in a state where they're not, to be their manufacturer, their distributor, their licensee. I don't know off the top of my head how that fits in the Maryland framework right now for social equity, and I don't know which MSOs might be interested. When I talk about MSOs, these are probably product like cart, gummy, edible kind of folks. But that is an example of someone who's really going to want a partner that they're going to work with. Like,
Right.
you're going
Yes.
to take our brand from New Jersey and we're going to put it in Maryland, and we're going to work together to make that brand here create value for both of us. That's a good relationship from an investor or from a licensor. And if that works for you, and it may require less capital, or it may make it easier for you to raise capital if you say, hey, I've got Acme
this
brand,
brand. Yep.
Right.
who wants
Yep.
me to be
They've
their
done this
licensee
before.
here. They've done
Yeah.
this before.
Yeah.
They sell $10 million worth of stuff in a couple other states.
And they spend a ton of money marketing their
Right,
stuff,
right.
which is money that you don't then have
Right.
to take
And
out of
you're
your
right.
pocket.
I literally have a dozen of those guys, and they're good partners, and we always
Some of them are.
People. Yeah, some of them
Yeah.
are. Absolutely, you're right. Let's
It
qualify
depends.
that.
Yeah.
It depends,
Yeah.
but they're not necessarily bad just because they are MSOs.
Right.
But we have to look at Sergio over there. He's like
He's like really
on the
go.
sidelines.
He's like giving us the
illegal motion
Wait,
traveling.
yeah,
What is that?
yeah.
You're not going to
Illegal
solve
talk,
yeah.
all
Delay
of
of
your legal
game.
and financial problems
Yeah.
in a half hour. And it's been about that long. So, guys, thank you so much, Chad. Seth,
Absolutely.
how can people get in touch with you?
I'm easy to get in touch with, 7leafcfos.com. That starts with the number 7.
That's cool. So blackgardenlaw.com. Blackgardenlaw, just like it's always spelled .com. That's got all our numbers on it.
We're going to have you guys back on the Zoom at the early September with a lot more information. Tune back in to hear what's new. I want you guys to gather all the Maryland information so we can connect you to people and get them good information early September.
Keep watching Cannabis Legalization News for more information about what's going on in Maryland.
And meet and check them.
And meet and check it.
That's okay.